so that you make a shape a bit like X. Okay, and this is an ideal opportunity for you to explore some of those ideas. How can you engage in solving the puzzle that I will share with you without having to, but in such a way that you get the satisfaction of having maybe stayed with the problem for a little while? Thank you. So that you can kind of explore for a little while, check that you're still easy and breathing, pause and rest. Allow the bigger part of your brain to come up with some new options perhaps, and then return into the exploration. And if you recall what we were doing before lunch, the idea of being able to be aware of the relationship between your head and your pelvis, and what helps the movement, what hinders the movement. The instruction is to take all four limbs a little bit to the right and return again. There are ways of interpreting this. Sorry? The instruction, it's actually important to get into the starting position. So your hands need to be beyond your head. So you're making an X on the floor. And then all four limbs move a little bit to the right and come back to where they began. And Feldenkrais made the point that when we're on the ground, we have the support of the ground. And so he's inviting you to stay supported all through the movement so that you're moving across the ground, which may mean that some parts of you roll. So your hands and your feet stay on the floor. Everything moves a bit to the right and back again. And it's all of you moving. It's not just your hands, not just your feet. So can you spread your awareness right across from the tips of your fingers to the tips of your toes, your head, your eyes, your jaw? And notice, is there a sequence or does everything move simultaneously? There's subtle clues that when one part gets to a certain place, something else needs to join in to keep the movement going. Most of you are discovering that if you move your hands and feet far enough, you roll onto your side. And so could you expand the intention just a little bit further that at some point this would lead to sitting up? So for how long can you leave your hands and feet on the floor? How long can your head stay on the floor or near the floor? Until eventually the movement requires that something begins to lift away and come up into the world. And if you find you've come to a bump or a place where you have to push a little bit, can you spread your attention away from that place and just notice, has something stopped just prior to that? Is there something that needs to be included in that long sense of yourself that could continue moving, make it easy to find your way up? There are all kinds of options you can explore. Is it easier with arms and legs long, with legs bending and arms long, with arms and legs bending? And next time you're down, you can stay there and just rest for a moment. Allow all those discoveries to integrate and become stored in the big system. And then find your way up to sitting so that you have your legs long in front of you. Okay, and then take your hands, put them in front to the left, and begin to sweep them around so that you find yourself lying on your back via the left side. Okay, that's it looks slightly more smooth than coming up. So can you reverse that? What did you discover in going down that might inform coming up? And so as you hold the whole of yourself in your awareness, could you particularly notice, what does your pelvis do? If your pelvis kept moving smoothly the whole way through the movement, would that make a difference? Okay, we've explored this morning the connection between your pelvis and your head. So maybe you'd like to come back and explore that again a little bit in this particular context. Is there a relationship in the way they move as you sweep around? Maybe you'd like to spend some time specifically exploring the relationship between your pelvis and your legs. Can you do something that interferes with the movement that might give you a clue as to what might assist the movement? What about the relationship between your pelvis and your arms? Are they talking to each other? Is there a quiet conversation going on there? And the next time you happen to be up in the air, you could swap to the other side. You could try leaning down to the right, going around onto your back, right over onto the left, back up round that way. We know that contrast is one of the useful ways that we learn. So what can you notice that's different when you go to the right and down? Being human beings, most of us are a little lopsided, so there may well be a difference or a difference in ease from one side to the other. How do you do that? And did your eye sockets pop into your awareness at any stage? What are they doing? Have they got anything to do with where your pelvis is going? Try changing direction. And then if you just discard attention to all the relationships and connections and process and just make it easy, really light, flowing. Could you be like a gentle stream babbling over the rocks? Leave it, just lie there for a moment, rest. Feldenkrais reminds us that what we want to be able to do in most cases is to create ways of moving that feel weightless or light and easy. And in order to do that, we need to be taking our support from the ground. We need to be able to organise ourselves in a way to use minimum effort. We need to find the relationships and the coordination, the timing and the clues that exist between the different parts of ourselves. You might remember some of the movements that we did last week and the week before, where we noticed that when the movement is initiated more in the center of us, more from the big powerful muscles around the pelvis, center of the body, then the rest of ourselves, the further away bits, can just be used for steering, and we get the power and the sense of lightness from the pelvis. So if you think of yourself as organizing everything from the center and let your pelvis drive you around and over and up, how light and easy could that be now? I find these concepts of lightness and heaviness quite interesting, because from here it kind of looks like molten chocolate flowing around, which has a quality of heaviness to me, but it also has a quality of elegance and ease. So one more time, just resting on your back. You remember Zoran's question of earlier in the day. What would it be like to roll your head between your hands and come up to sitting? And feel free to do that in your imagination, because there's a very strong temptation to use willpower and just do it. So just don't. But could you imagine it more easily now? And then when you're ready, whichever way you choose, roll yourself over, flow back up, and see what it's like to move around through space in the vertical position.